Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our virtual industry briefing today as we share with you information on a project of state significance, the Golden Plains Wind Farm. I would like to firstly acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we all emanate from today as we come together from all parts of the country in this virtual format. We particularly acknowledge that our project is located on the land of the Wadawurrung, Eastern Maar and Gulligad people, and we pay respect to elders past, present and future. We acknowledge the ongoing connection between the Wadawurrung, Eastern Maar and Gulligad people to the land and waters. My name is Matt Hustwaite. I'm the engagement manager for WestWind Energy, who are the project proponent for the Golden Plains Wind Farm project. And today we're joined by representatives of the WestWind Energy organisation and our civil and electrical contractors, namely Toby Geiger, Managing Director of WestWind Energy, Simon Clifton, the Head of Project Development and Delivery with WestWind Energy, Adam Waddell, Project Manager with MPC Kinetic, and joining Adam today as well, Kevin Donnelly from NPC Kinetic, and also Dimitri Belligri from CPP, Consolidated Power Projects. In this briefing, you'll hear about the Golden Plains Wind Farm itself and the relevant civil and electrical works packages. We received a great response to our call out for questions, and we'll cover a number of those in a panel discussion at the end of the presentation. I also encourage you to ask any questions that you have in the chat box, and we'll answer as many of those as we can here with you today. Now, this briefing will also be available on our website, goldenplainswindfarm.com.au, shortly after the conclusion of today's proceedings. I'd like to now reintroduce to you the Managing Director of WestWind Energy, Toby Geiger, to discuss our company with you.
Thank you very much, Matt, for this warm welcome and introduction, and welcome everyone on this presentation on the Golden Plains Wind Farm project today. It's really great to see the level of engagement that we can see from you all. I'm probably the least important person that is speaking today because I'm just sitting at the top and not directly involved in the project day-to-day running, management, and also the contracts. So my speech will be pretty short. I will just focus on who WestWind Energy is and what we have done to date. So WestWind Energy was established in Australia in 2004 and is part of the WestWind group of companies, which is headquartered in Kirchdorf in Germany. And the WestWind group was first established in 1998. So we're in this renewable energy business for quite some time now. It's also fair to say that Australia is the second largest market for WestWind Energy. And once we get Golden Plains on the go, it will be the largest market for WestWind Energy. In Australia, we operate with our own management, and that gives us the flexibility in the business model to work successfully in the Australian market. So we're not trying to just replicate what everybody else is doing in Germany. We're really responding to what's happening in the Australian market, and that is a much more successful business model, we believe, than just replicating what happens elsewhere. We try to be honest, open, ethical, and fair, and we do what we say we will do. And people that we work with, they trust us to adhere to our word. So just go to the next slide. To date in Australia, our project development activities has led to over 450 permitted wind turbine locations spread over 4 projects. We are now the largest wind farm developer in the state of Victoria by megawatt and also by number of permitted turbines. If you look at the percentages, we're responsible for roughly 1/3 of the wind farm developments in Victoria. The potential in our future project pipeline of development projects in Australia exceeds well over 3 gigawatts to be installed by 2030. So we have no intention to go away anyway soon, and we will continue to develop further projects like Golden Plains. The focus today will be on Golden Plains Wind Farm. And having said that, I will now hand over to Simon, who's our project manager for Golden Plains, who will give you more insight into the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Toby, and a warm welcome to all. I'm just going to share a little bit of information about the project, and then I'll pass along to some of our civil contractors who can answer some more questions and give some information about some of the upcoming opportunities. So the Golden Plains Wind Farm will be Victoria's largest wind farm to date, and it's estimated to power approximately 765,000 homes. The initial wind monitoring began in 2006, and in 2016, further feasibility investigations led to the commercial decision to pursue a planning permit for approximately 1,000 megawatt project. The project has now been through an extensive planning process, and we have obtained state planning approval in the form of a planning permit that has been issued from the Victorian Minister for Planning. We estimate it to be a $2.2 billion project, and it encompasses approximately 17,000 hectares, and it's located to the south of Rokewood, which is approximately 60 kilometres northwest of Geelong and 50 kilometres south of Ballarat. And this is just the location of the project in respect of Melbourne, Ballarat and Geelong. So it is in Western Victoria. The current planning approval encompasses up to 228 turbines and associated infrastructure, such as underground cables, access tracks, overhead power lines, internal collector stations, a terminal station, and also a proposed local on-site temporary quarry. We did enter a subsequent planning permit amendment process in earlier this year, which upon approval will see the project scope reduced to approximately 215 turbines. We anticipate construction to commence in early 2022, so early next year, and it will be delivered in 2 stages. There will be direct employment opportunities throughout the construction phase, and these will cover a wide range of industries, such as civil and electrical contracting, earthworks, temporary construction facilities, cleaning, catering, and accommodation, and the list goes on. As I mentioned, the project does have 2 stages, and the stages are split into 122 turbines for stage 1 and 93 turbines for stage 2. And you can see in the pink and the orange on my screen, and the township of Rokewood is located just in the middle, just here. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. WestWind Energy has established the Golden Plains Wind Farm Management as a special purpose vehicle for the delivery of the project. And Golden Plains Wind Farm Management has partnered with TAG Energy as a major equity partner to help deliver the project. We've engaged 3 primary contractors on the civil and electrical side, and these are the civil, MPC Kinetic, electrical, Consolidated Power Projects, and on the connection asset side, Mondo. I will now hand over to Adam from MPK to run through his presentation. Kevin, actually.
Hi all, it's Adam Waddell from MPK and also Kevin. We're going to talk about the civil balance of plant works that MPCK will be delivering for WestWind. So MPC Kinetic is one of Australia's leading infrastructure construction companies. We've been engaged in delivering balance of plant works for Golden Plains Wind Farm. MPCK has delivered balance of plants for nearby Crowlands and also Berrybank wind farms that had 72 turbines. MPK are at the present time delivering balance of plant for 2 other wind farms in Queensland, which adds up to another 71 turbines. A little bit about MPCK. MPK have a workforce of roughly about 1,500 working on projects across Australia and is committed to engaging with local business and employing local people. MPK is interested in the following services for this project: bulk water and fuel deliveries, quarry materials, heavy haulage, plant machinery, light vehicle hire, steel fabrication, diesel fitting and maintenance, site office and yard facilities, security, traffic and environmental management groups, office supplies, batch plant contractors, foundation installation contractors, ablution block management, etc., and also many others. MPK will be also seeking local candidates for certain roles like machinery operators, truck drivers, HSE personnel, tradespeople, project administration, labourers, concreters, surveyors, also some others of like project engineers, site engineers, etc., that can be working directly on the project. And I think I'm going to be throwing it to now Dimitri from the electrical side.
Thanks, Adam. Matt and everybody, hopefully you can see my presentation there. Okay. Look, first of all, I'd like to thank WestWind for setting this event up and inviting me to speak on behalf of CPP. And secondly, I'd like to thank all the people that have dialed in today, and it's fantastic to see so many organisations represented here today. I'll give you a brief introduction into CPP, and then we can talk about some of the local work packages that we will be looking for this project. So my name's Dimitri Belagris. I work for Consolidated Power Projects, and we're extremely excited to be involved in this project. So I'm the program manager for renewables based in Adelaide. Just to give you a little bit of a background into CPP. So Consolidated Power Projects, otherwise known as CPP, we consider ourselves an industry leader in HV infrastructure. We offer full turnkey solutions in the design, construction and commissioning of all HV projects. We're very proud to be an employer of about 250 people across Australia, and we've got offices in Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. So what do we do? Over the last 20 years, we've partnered with some of the biggest renewable and power transmission companies to deliver large-scale electrical projects, including wind farms, battery storage systems, solar farms, and just general HV transmission substations and transmission lines. On the screen here, you should see some of the project we've worked on. So you can see we've been involved in 42 wind farms to date, 13 solar farm connections, 6 battery storage projects, and a number of other substations. We've also got a large number of maintenance and service contracts with utilities and other renewable projects to maintain their assets. We're on the preferred contractor panel for a number of the transmission network service providers, including Ausgrid, Transgrid, Electronet and Powerlink. So Golden Plains Wind Farm. What's our scope with respect to Golden Plains? CPP will be the electrical balance plant contractor for this site, the EBOP contractor. We effectively be involved in and responsible for the design, construction and commissioning of the entire 33 kV cable reticulation network, and also the construction of the HV substation, which will effectively connect the turbines to the grid. So what does that mean for local businesses? On the slide there, you should see some of the services and work packages we're looking to the local community to help us in building this site. So you can see anything to do with plant hire we'd be interested in. That's wet or dry hire, including excavators, tractors, surveying and geotechnical surveys, light transportation for deliveries and just general movement of goods across the site, waste management. That could be hiring of skip bins or just general cleaners for the site. Fencing service providers, including the supply of temporary fencing and also permanent fencing installers. Traffic management, including signage and personnel. General plant hire, for example, the supply of office blocks, toilet blocks and portable generators. Would also be interested in water carting services, including the supply of water to site and fuel supply and carting services. When we get to site, we also would be looking to set up accounts with local businesses in the area. For example, hardware and electrical supply companies for the supply of general electrical and construction goods. Across both the civil and electrical works, we'd also be looking at sourcing quarry materials locally, of course. When it comes to labour, from CPP's perspective, we would be interested to hire people with electrical qualifications during the construction phase of this project, but also we do have interest in trades assistants or general labourers to assist with some of the construction work. And also plant operators. If there's any plant operators out there when construction starts, there's going to be a lot of machinery on site, and we'd be keen to employ plant operators. Lastly, for this type of large infrastructure project, we rely heavily on the local community for what I call secondary services, but they're quite critical. And that's things like providing suitable accommodation for the employees and also food and lunch services. So wherever possible, we always strive to supplement our core employees with local support. It certainly makes sense from us from a business point of view and also from a local community point of view. Vendor requirements, just to give you a bit of an idea of what we're looking for. So CPP have our own specific policy of onboarding suppliers and employees. Vendors are basically assessed across 4 key areas, and that's safety, environment, quality, and production. So we just like vendors, where applicable, to be able to demonstrate some sort of historical performance with respect to managing safety and environmental requirements. We like businesses to be able to demonstrate to us that they have a quality system in process, a quality process in place, shall I say, if they're, for example, supplying goods or services. And the other items there on the slide are pretty straightforward and go without saying. We need suppliers to have all their insurances up to date and all their qualifications and tickets up to date. If you're going for an electrical position, you need to have your electrical tickets up to date. Past experience in the construction or wind farm industry is certainly looked upon quite favourably, but it's not essential. So looking in closing, I hope that gives you a bit of an appreciation of who CPP are and what type of services we'd be looking to the local community to provide to us during the construction phase of this project. I'd like to thank everyone that's taken the time to dial in to hear us speak. We're very excited about this project, and I certainly know through past projects how positive something like this can be to the local community, especially during COVID times and the effects of what lockdowns have had on small businesses. So on the screen, you should hopefully see an email address. You can contact myself with any inquiries on this particular project if you wish to register an interest or if you just want extra information. Thank you very much, and keep safe.
Thank you, Dimitri, and thank you to all our other speakers today. I'm just going to spend some time now quickly talking about social procurement and industry engagement. Golden Plains Wind Farm is committed to supporting our regional community and using our buying power to generate social value above and beyond the value of the goods, services, or construction that's being procured. We appreciate that our decisions throughout the procurement process have a significant impact on the economy, the environment, and the community, particularly when we're talking about working in regional and rural parts of the state. We're committed to leveraging some of our purchasing power to achieve broader objectives, to increase opportunities for social benefit suppliers, and we strongly encourage our suppliers and contractors to hire locally and to also consider making in-kind and financial contributions that support the local community. This is all in alignment with our Australian Industry Participation Plan requirements, which ensure fair, full and reasonable opportunity for Australian industry to compete for work. This framework commits both federal and state levels to adopting a consistent national approach and also aims to maximise Australian industry participation in major projects in Australia. Nearly all of you who are here today will have already had interface with the Industry Capability Network, a network of experienced industry procurement and supply chain specialists who introduce businesses large and small to projects large and small across Australia and New Zealand. The process of advertising and awarding of project work packages will be developed by our contractors. Subsequent project work packages will then also be advertised on the Industry Capability Network project page located at goldenplains.icn.org.au. Now, I mentioned earlier on that it was great to receive so many questions as part of the registration process. So thank you for submitting those. And I'll be bringing the panel back into the stream in just a short moment to work through some of the key themes that came through from that. I also encourage you, again, as I did at the start of the presentation, to engage with us via the chat box, which for most of you should be to the right of the video screen that you're watching, or if you're watching on a mobile device, it will be below the video itself. Feel free to enter your questions in there, and we'll endeavour to get to as many of those questions as we can today in this live format. So I'll bring in our esteemed panel again now, and we'll discuss some of the questions that we have already received to date through the registration process. And I will start with the first theme to throw to the panel for discussion. A question being that what is the strategy to support local industry over low-cost manufacturing companies? So I'll throw that out to the panel, whomever would like to jump in first and address that question.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for, it's a good question that came up there, and really the approach that we're taking is we're looking at the total cost of goods and services, not just what is the cost ex factory or even delivered in Australia. And the total cost is then also weighed against the total benefits. That is why we have been engaging with the ICN for many, many years. We're trying to identify as many local companies in all the work we do already. And we do not seek specifically to save costs by offshoring the work that we're doing. I mean, it's fair to say that there are a lot of goods in particular that we can't source in Australia. That nobody's making complete turbines or turbine blades here in Australia. But where there is an opportunity to source local, we look at that very favourably, and we work with the ICN to identify companies that could supply those goods and services, and also help them understand the market environment that they work in order to give them a chance to become competitive.
Thank you for that, Toby. If there wasn't any other chipping in that our contractors or Simon would like to do, we might move to the next question, which is one which we have received many times over the journey. Has a turbine supplier been chosen?
No.
That's a nice quick answer. You feel free to elaborate if you wish, Toby, but there's not much more to it at this stage, is there?
We've shortlisted turbine suppliers, but we haven't selected the final one yet.
And everyone can be assured that once we do reach that point, that you'll be notified by virtue of having registered through the ICN gateway and also through our own website for the independent and small medium enterprises who have registered through our form as well. So watch this space. We'll hopefully be able to share some news with that soon. Next theme that came up, and this is probably one that will be more pertinent to the team from MPCK and CPP. How can local independent service providers place themselves in good stead to be awarded work packages for this project? So how can those viewers who are on this briefing today, how can they best set themselves up for success is the question, really.
So from a CBOP point of view, we've got a local email address that the local businesses can send through their details to us. I'm happy to put that on in the comments section here. So then if any businesses want to register their services, etc., with MPK, they can send those details through so we can put them on or review and make sure that they've got the capability, and then we can put them on our tender lists.
And Dimitri, was there anything additional, any tips for success that you might like to add?
Now, look, similar to what Adam's said, we've got an email address which was on the slide, and we'll also put it in the comments section. But if you've got any expressions of interest, please send those to that email address. And what happens with us is we'll put all the suppliers' information into a database, and closer to the construction phase, we'll start liaising and start that engagement process with potential suppliers. So aside from that, please watch out on our website. So again, closer to the construction phase of the project, we'll start putting some information on our website.
And I'll also add to that as well. Many of you have already had interface with myself or other members from our team at WestWind Energy, and also with the Industry Capability Network. I encourage you to keep an eye on our website as well, goldenplainswindfarm.com.au, where we do have a section there dedicated for employment and other such information that will be certainly becoming more populated with information as we go along. And you're also welcome to get in contact with us directly as well, as many of you have already done so to date. It's a similar question, which will hopefully perhaps have a small, short answer. The question being, we haven't worked with any of these partners before. Do you need a prior track record in the wind farm sector in order to obtain work on this project?
Oh, look, I can answer from CPP's point of view, Matt. No, the answer is no. Look, if you have construction or a wind farm experience, it's certainly an advantage, but absolutely not essential. As long as you can prove to us that you have that safety record and you can supply the goods or the services that you're trying to supply us. We have a certain engagement process that we'll undertake with you as a business, but it's not essential.
And Adam, I would imagine that would be applicable for yourself too.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Wind farm experience is good to have, of course, but it's not essential for the works that we'll be doing. If you've got civil construction experience, etc., they're the sorts of things that we'll be looking for.
Thank you for that, guys. This is the question, and this might be a good one to pass on to you, Simon. How many jobs will this project create?
So we estimate that the project will create approximately 600 to 700 roles or jobs during construction, and approximately 40 or so during operation. And they're a mix of on-site jobs and off-site jobs. So the direct construction force, but also people like me, my job in the office, and people in the engineering firms, and I know everyone off-site as well.
Thank you, Simon. The next question, which may actually be one that I take myself, actually, is there a required Indigenous engagement level on this project with Indigenous owned and supply nation registered businesses? So the answer to that, there isn't a mandated number or figure that we're needing to hit, as this is a private project. But that said, and as discussed earlier, we are all of the partners involved in this project are strongly committed to achieving our requirements of the Australian Industry Participation Plan, which is inclusive of procurements and engagements of that nature. And by way of the processes that we already have in place, we are striving to achieve that. And I also then strongly encourage those who are directly relevant to this in terms of Indigenous owned and supplied nation registered businesses to please get in contact with ourselves at WestWind and also our associated partners on the project, because we'd love to hear from you, and we're wanting to achieve as much on the social procurement front as we're able to. And the another question that came through a few times, not surprising considering the current COVID safe settings that we're in. The question being, have you taken into consideration of the 4 square metre or other density requirements for site sheds, lunchrooms, etc.? If anyone is wanting to jump in, they can, Adam.
So at present time, within the lunchrooms, that hasn't been taken into consideration. But if that is a requirement from the government at the time of construction, then that will be followed. So we'll need to make changes as we go if that is a requirement by the Victorian government.
Thank you for that, Adam. And the last theme. It's a specific question, but it came through a number of times, so worth throwing in this point in time. Is the project investigating or considering an anchored foundation over gravity foundations for the turbines? Now, as mentioned before, we haven't engaged with a turbine supplier yet, but in terms of that kind of technical question, perhaps Simon, or if anyone else wants to jump in, if they may have a answer at this stage for that.
Happy for Kevin to take that one, yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Thanks, Matt. So right now we're reviewing the geotechnical conditions for the site. This site would probably lend itself to gravity foundations. However, there is a small potential for rock anchors, which we will continue to investigate over the next couple of months. And with our design partners, we'll come up to a conclusion on which solution we'll use.
Great, thank you for that, Kevin. That's the set of questions that we had consolidated from the registrations. I can see we have a number of questions coming through from the live chat, so thank you very much for participating. We'll start with this question from Mark Norman. The question being, are you able to confirm who will be supplying the turbines? We have mentioned that, unfortunately not at this stage, Mark, but watch this space. We hope to be able to share that with everybody in the not too distant future. Next question, this has come from Workforce Excess in Geelong. Hi, Matt. Hello, Workforce Excess. Will the group be looking to utilise labour hire services or hire directly? This has been somewhat touched on already, but feel free to jump in, guys, to respond to that question.
I can respond there, Matt. From the electrical balance of plant point of view, we utilise both. So we tend to use, sometimes we tend to use hire companies. Otherwise, we'll look to hire directly. So we have a core group of employees across Australia, and some of our key positions like site managers will be coming in, but the majority of the other workforce will be looking at getting locally. So we use a combination of both, basically.
And from a civil point of view, we'll be using both also. So direct hire for some roles, and then also using a bit of labour hire for other positions too.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. The next question has come in from Riznoon. Hello, everyone. How does the timeline look for the project? Simon, this may be one to start with you on.
Thanks, Matt. So as I mentioned, we're looking at the project kicking off very early next year, and we estimate that the project will be completed, at least the first stage, by late 2024.
Thank you, Simon. We have now a question from Daria. This is for MPCK. Will MPCK source the UHP grout for transition pocket, or is grouting scope to be awarded to a subcontractor?
Yeah, I might answer that one, Matt.
No worries, Kevin.
So both options are available. We haven't got to the pointy end of that just yet. It depends on the product that we'll end up using. So we might ask the subcontractor to source the high strength grout, or alternatively, we'll procure the grout directly from the manufacturer.
Thanks, Kevin. Next questions come in from Angel. Would the panel be interested in QA/QC management system being used on several wind farms in the UK and Europe, and on major construction projects in Australia? Now, I'm sure the silence isn't golden in this situation, but
I'll jump in there. I'm not too familiar with those items, but certainly interested to hear more about them. So, yeah, please send through any details. I'm happy to have a look at that. If you send it through to myself via that email previously sent.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. We be the same, Matt. Always keen to look at new techniques and what's used differently, both in Australia and globally. So if there's a better and smarter way to do it, we'll always take a look.
Yep, I can add to that also that once a decision has been made on a turbine supplier, it's a fairly involved logistical exercise for them as well. They have such systems as well. So we're probably between all the contractors and service providers on this, we'll need to look at do we need a system that integrates all of that or not, and what do they look like? So definitely it is of interest at the right time. Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you for your question, Angel. The next question from Shushant. What is the full commissioning date for the wind farm? Simon, I'll throw to you for this one.
So at this stage, as I mentioned earlier, late 2024 is what we're envisaging for stage 1, and stage 2 is still being worked through as what the final program and plan will be, but you could expect somewhere around that time, possibly later as well.
Fantastic. And staying with you for this one, Simon, a follow-up question. Are there any critical paths in the project which are aligned on the AEMO's changing guidelines and policies?
This one might even be better answered by Toby. Matt, I might pass back to him.
Very good.
Thanks, Simon, for passing the buck. Look, it is fair to say that the whole grid connection process that we're running with the AEMO is on the critical path. And the changes in guidelines and policies is one thing, but there are also changes in an understanding of what's happening in the grid. I mentioned the West Murray issue that AEMO has uncovered, and these are things that you can never quite be sure of. So yes, AEMO's on the critical path. I see that less as a result of changing guidelines and policies, though.
Thank you, Toby. Next questions come from Ross. What type of fire suppression system is required?
Yeah, so Matt, in the from the electrical balance of plant point of view, in the control buildings, we typically install a gas suppression system to quench any fires that might come about with the switchgear. So I've forgotten the name of the gas, but it's a gas suppression system in the control buildings that we'd be looking at employing.
Thank you, Dimitri. We'll move on to the next question. Phil has asked, how will the high value capital equipment be procured, like switchgear, HV cables, transformers, etc.? Who would like to jump in first on that?
That's probably another question for myself. So, yeah, we go through a tender process. At CPP, we'll go through a tender process, and we'll issue tenders with technical specs and whatnot to suppliers that have registered an interest or suppliers that we've worked with. So again, if you think you can supply those goods, please feel free to express your interest via that email or via our website, and we can look into that. So that will typically happen a couple of months once the contract is formally awarded.
Thank you, Dimitri. Next question has come in from MKM Constructions. Thanks for joining us, team from there. When will the detailed tech engineering specs and scope of works be made available?
I can jump in there, Matt. So I think MKM are referring to the buildings, the operations and maintenance buildings. So we will be looking at putting a package to the market over the coming months. And as we've noted previously, so whoever is registered will and are capable and competent will be getting a tender request for that package.
Thank you for that, Kevin. And thank you to those who are giving their thanks in the chat as well. That's appreciated. And that actually is the last of the questions that we have in the chat. I do have one question that's come in. This has come in via email. This is from Steve at Design Builders, and on a similar, somewhat similar vein, is the WSP from Golden Plains Wind Farm Management of May 2020 still current? Simon and/or Toby, would one of you like to jump in?
The WSP, is there anything else to that question, Matt?
That's all I have, unfortunately. Steve, if you are watching live, feel free to add in some extra context in the chat box there. That would be great. And I will just offer out one last opportunity for those who are watching. If you had any questions you'd like to put in, to add them in now, because we actually have reached the end of the questions that we've had submitted through the chat feature. And I will just, whilst we wait to see if any come in, of course, as has been mentioned a few times throughout the process. And I'm sorry, Simon, I've left you hanging on the screen there by yourself. If with any other questions that you do have that come from today, you're of course more than welcome to visit the Golden Plains website, certainly, goldenplainswindfarm.com.au. We also have our employment page, which is goldenplainswindfarm.com.au/employment, where there are contact forms that you're able to submit that pertain directly to industry. And of course, those contact details that were provided by the NPCK and CPP teams are also there. And I'll just, as a reminder as well, this presentation will be posted on our website shortly after the briefing is completed, and you'll be able to watch this at replay anytime. Now, we have had a couple more questions quickly come in. This has come from Patrick. Would we be looking for a company to maintain and clean buildings?
So we would be looking for a company to do cleaning and maintenance on the temporary construction facilities through the construction period. I don't know further on from that, but definitely through the construction period, we'll be looking for someone to do maintenance and cleaning of those temporary construction buildings. And
I can expand on that. So for the operational period post-construction, WestWind Energy management will then also be looking for someone, or more than one company as the case may be, to look at the maintenance and cleaning of buildings on an ongoing basis. Yes, we would be interested in that.
Thank you, Toby and Adam. We've had a question come through from Matthew. Are civil works going to be released in packages from MPC, or are they self-managing all works?
So there'll be portions of works where we'll be using subcontractors, and there'll be a majority of works where we'll be using self-managed. So access tracks, hard stands, and foundations, etc. They'll be pretty much self-managed. We will have a subcontractor doing the installation of foundations. Things like public road junctions, we'll be getting subcontractors to do those works. So there's a breakup of each of the components.
Thank you for that, Adam. Well, that sees us out of the questions that we've had come through. So I might pass over to Toby to say some final words on behalf of WestWind as the project proponent.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you all for listening into these presentations and for your really very good questions. It's been very helpful to understand where your questions come from in terms of preparing ourselves and making sure that we communicate the right information with you all. So it's been a very good exercise from our perspective, I would say, and I hope it's been a good exercise for all of you as well, so that you know who you should contact with your respective work packages. And as I said, if it hasn't been captured here, there's always the opportunity to contact Golden Plains Wind Farm via the ICN website. Thank you all.
Thank you, Toby. And on behalf of all of us here today, thank you again. Stay safe in these times that we're at. If you're in Victoria or southern New South Wales, look out for earthquakes. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future with any more questions. Thank you.